Hello everyone, welcome to another video. It's a really nice day outside, the lighting is fantastic, so that's something I don't have to worry about, and it's bright in the middle of winter, so that's pretty great. Anyway, let's move on to what we're going to be doing in this video. So I decided I wanted to start talking about video game related things in the industry that may be of pertinent interest to some people, and it's stuff that I like to follow quite frequently. So I'm going to make this series Let's Talk, or something along those lines. I haven't quite figured out a name, but we're just going to talk about things and video games and stuff. So let's do it. So today I want to talk a little bit about video game review scores, whether we should use them, whether they are necessary, and what real purpose they serve. So this was really prompted by an article that went up at Joystiq.com, one of the leading games review sites, where they basically declared we are no longer going to be giving scores to games. So from 2015 onwards, review scores, the number at the bottom, disappears completely. Now, they stated many reasons for why they wanted to do this. I'll post the article down below so you guys can have a look at it if you want. But, things including the ways that games these days are always constantly evolving and being updated, and with online components and patches, it's very hard to attach a single score and leave it there for ever and ever because, 2 years down the line it may be completely different. Added to the fact that scores are really reductive and they don't get nuance across, and the problem is that most people just scroll past the text, see the review score, and get angry in the comments, and it is not really making for very good conversation regarding games, and in general is just unhealthy. Now, personally, I'm someone who doesn't like the idea of review scores, but can at some points find them helpful. It's nice to kind of get a general consensus on a game when you go ahead and look what did each outlet give it score-wise, and you can kind of gauge, alright, this, here's the outlier, why is that, and why are some people enjoying it more than others. Of course, you're going to get way more out of it if you're actually going to the individual sites and reading the reviews. It is a nice shorthand, and I know there are some people who don't necessarily have the time to go out there and read every single review available. Completely understandable. But you're missing out on quite a bit. A lot of the problems I have with review scores stem from a lot of the response that the internet gives to them. Let's take, for example, the Pokemon Alpha Sapphire Omega Ruby review that IGN posted. Now, of course, this spawned many memes and many people talking about how, oh no, too much water, 7.8 out of 10. Whereas a lot of people didn't actually bother to read the review itself and get the full context for why the score was given. Understandably, this is not a single case. Across the internet, it happens all the time. And it really frustrates me because people go out there and tout their opinions without ever having read a single word of the review itself. If you get rid of scores, then it forces people to, hey, you know what? Do some English, read the words, and actually get to an understanding and a realization of what the person's argument is, what they're talking about, and essentially how good the game is from their perspective. Of course, after you've done that, you can feel free to, say whatever you like, but the problem is the review score makes it so easy for stupid, infantile arguments to occur. It leads to incidences of fanboyism and hatred and just bad things in general that I don't want to be associated with, and I don't think a lot of you want to be with either. But there are more problems with review scores than just the futile arguments on the internet. There is a very, very important site regarding video games. It's called Metacritic, and it has a lot of power. You see, what Metacritic does, on the simple face of it, is collect video game review scores and compile them and essentially give an aggregate, an average score from every single one. Now, you may be thinking, hey, that's quite harmless, what's wrong with that? It's basically just taking an average of a review score and giving it to the consumer to see what the general consensus was. The problem arises when you understand that Metacritic actually takes the review score and converts it to their own system. So let's say, for example, a site like Giant Bomb. They review games on a 5-star scale. They don't have any half points, and it's just a single 1 to 5. If a Giant Bomb game review gives something 3 stars, it's going to get converted to the Metacritic scale at a 60%. Now, that may not be how the reviewer actually feels about it. It's a very binary number, and it's a very kind of mathematical way of doing it. And that is the problem, because it's taking these scores and putting them on a 100-point scale when many sites don't really like the idea of a 100-point scale and don't employ it for a certain reason. Not only that, but certain websites may get higher priority than others. Say, for example, we compare IGN to Giant Bomb. IGN, as a more prolific, more well-known site, may have their scores weighted higher than perhaps Giant Bomb would. So let's take a review where IGN gives something a 9 and Giant Bomb gives it a 2. you know, those scores may be weighted very differently, where the IGN one gets a much higher ranking and therefore is more reflective of the general consensus. And this is really, really problematic. When you look at the Metacritic score, it's not giving you a definitive average, it's giving you this strange, warped algorithm that they somehow spat out their system. And that's not the only problem that Metacritic has on the industry. There have been instances of game publishers not giving bonuses to companies because they didn't hit a certain Metacritic score. Perhaps the most famous example of this is when the developers of Fallout New Vegas were not paid an extra amount of money by the publisher Bethesda because they missed out on the Metacritic by 1 point. A single point. It's ridiculous, it's crazy, and it's just insane that this kind of practice still happens within the games industry. By persisting to give out video game scores, we are only feeding them more, and it makes them more powerful, and it damages just the sanctity of what games are. I would really love to see a world where Metacritic didn't exist, where we didn't have video game review scores, but I understand realities. Games are very consumer focused, and game reviews are kind of written as such. They are generally thought of as a buyer's guide. They are some of them moving more critically, of course, but yes, a lot of people use them as an idea of whether I should buy a game or not. And for your average mainstream consumer who doesn't necessarily want to get into all the nitty-gritty of it and just wants to know whether the new FIFA is any good this year, of course, a single score is going to give them the best indication. But if we're talking about video game reviews, we also have to talk about the changing face of the games industry. Fewer and fewer people are now going to traditional gaming outlets to get their take on games and ideas of how good they are. A lot of younger people are just going to the internet, to YouTube, and finding videos of people playing the game. Things like WTF is from Total Biscuit and just Let's Plays in general of brand new games can often give people a better indication of whether they'd like the game or not than just simply reading a review and seeing a score. It's a reason I really love Giant Bomb's Quick Look format, because they take a good hour or so look at a game, and it's not necessarily something that I need to go and read up afterwards. I get a great sense of what's going on, the opinions that they have surrounding it, and everything that I need to know. And you know what? None of these videos attach score, at least most of them don't. You'll see sometimes video reviewers on YouTube will put them at the end and that kind of stuff, but a lot of the time I feel like that's sort of more to cause growth in terms of getting comments on the channel and that sort of stuff, because it will cause arguments. Review scores inevitably do that. In general though, most of these videos are going to be of a let's play format and just someone playing the game, and there's not going to be any sort of criticism or critique attached, but someone can still, I guess, get an understanding of whether they enjoy that format or not just by viewing it. I personally do a bit of both. I'll go to NeoGAF and I'll read the reviews thread and see what scores are given, but I'll also go to Giant Bomb and watch a quick look. I'll go to Total Biscuit and watch his opinions. I'll read a review from someone who I trust and know and enjoy writing from. So I guess I kind of go across the board on this issue. Review scores mean less to me than they used to perhaps in the past, but I'm still kind of engaging with them to some degree because they can have their uses. Would I prefer a world without them? Probably, because it'd make things much easier, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen. Anyway, I guess I'm going to hand it over to you guys. What are your opinions on video game review scores? Do you read traditional gaming sites anymore? Where do you get your information on games? Are you watching Let's Plays? Are you listening to critique on YouTube? Where do you get all your ideas and knowledge about video games, their reviews, and all that stuff? I'd be really interested to know. This is a topic I have a lot of interest in and passion for, so let me know in the comments. Do leave a like if you enjoyed this and want to see some more talking about video gaming stuff, and I guess I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.